Good morning. Big up to everyone joining me. It's your boy MarkN, MUFC fan, and you know what it is, guys. It's the Manchester United Views morning news, and this is just a little bit of a short one, just to give you guys some information about the possible transfers this summer, what we can do, some of the players we're looking at, some of the players we're looking at moving on, and some controversial takes. Big up. What are you guys thinking? Let me know in the comments. Who would you get this summer? Who is Manchester United should be looking at? And let me rephrase that question slightly and add the cap. Let's be creative and let's try to get players at a maximum of 40 million pounds, right? 40 million pounds, and we saving the one big signing for a marquee signing at 75 to 80 million, right? So let's get five players, your choices, and then let me know what you're thinking about the marquee signing on top of that, because it's been reported we have something like 250 million to spend, a war chest that was like Ten Hag's first summer. And there's also the possibility of making some profit from sales. And we'll get right into that. And you know what, guys? Don't be mad at me if you think that maybe I've overpriced some players. But big up to all of you joining me. Don't forget to smash the likes and subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell so you can see when I'm live. And guys, if you're on X, please give me a retweet, guys. Let's get the show on the road. And right before I bring this news to you guys, I'm just going to let you all know. Let me show you this information right here. Big up. And this is you know what this picture reminds me of? That Trinity a lot of guys have been talking about. Big up to you, Mental Ball Game. Hope you're having a great one, bro. Mainu, Garnacho, Hoyland, maybe the other few in the picture might be safe. You don't know what is happening, but this is what has been reported so far by the higher ups above. And there's been releases, but you know what, guys? These are the possible players that are possibly going to be seeing their way out of the club. And these are some creative signings of my own that I'm thinking we might be looking at to replace them and bolster the squad. Not only with players coming in, but with some youngsters coming back from loan, as well as some youngsters breaking through the under 18s. Guys, what are your thoughts in the comments? Let me know. As you can see, I have Sofian Amrabat there, and we all know that his loan is going to be ended and he's not going to be kept. So it's one of those things where he's going to be leaving. Christian Eriksen is also possibly leaving. Casemiro also possibly leaving. Varane as well. He's due for a contract extension, but you never know. I think there's an extension for 1 year at the current rate of his contract, and maybe we might just let him move on. There's also the likes of young Hannibal Mejbri, who has not seemed to get himself in the graces of the manager over at his loan in Sevilla. Has not played any games on loan, and maybe it's down to his discipline, but we don't know what the full story is. But he has not been great, and there's some other youngsters coming through that I think might be more deserving of a chance. So, guys, there's also Victor Lindelof there, Donny van der Beek, Luke Shaw might be a big name, as well as Marcus Rashford in the front, as they have been reported that if a big offer comes in somewhere in the region of 75 million plus add-ons, he will be considered to leave. And guys, I don't know about you, but there are a lot of players and fans of players. Bruno might also be, receive an offer, and we might listen to it. So it's one of those things where you might not see a player here that you might be considering to sell. Like, I also have Harry Maguire on my list to be sold, but he was just not in the thumbnail in this picture right now. But if you look at the right side of the photo, you would see Eze. There's a young Mikaeli Fai centre back. Mark Guay, he brings up the homegrown quota, as he's been an English defender, has been performing really, really well for Crystal Palace this season. And I think maybe he might be deserving a step up. He has been shown that he can adapt to the different systems played in both in the club and for England. So it's one of those things where he might work. You know, I'm a fan favorite of Rabiot. I think he possesses all the qualities that we would want to have in our midfield. He's a ball progressor, a ball winner, and he's very good at breaking the lines. He's very physical as well. Guys, don't forget he's a quality player. He's won the Euros. He's won a World Cup with France. He's one of those players that was critical to their rise. I think this guy is a very, very good signing, and he's on a free. His wages might be a bit high, but he's on a free, guys, and he's going to come in and bolster our midfield. I also look at young Joao Gomez, the young Brazilian, 21 years old or 22 years old, I believe is his age. Someone could correct me in the chat if he's a bit older. I think he's a very, very good eyeing young replacement for Casemiro. You know what I mean? I think he has the similar qualities. He's able to destroy in the midfield. He's also good at the ball. He's great with his passing range. And he has a very, very good engine on him. Now, you guys, we have been linked to the likes of Gyökeres. You know what I mean? And I think 100 million as a marquee signing is going to be amazing. But at the same time, if you look at some other strikers around that we can possibly, get our hands on for much less money and maybe a bigger bang for the buck, you might want to look at Serhou Guirassy. The 27-year-old has been having a great season for Stuttgart in the Bundesliga this season. So you know what? He might be catching the eyes. I also think there's not a bad shout going at Benjamin Sesko. The youngster has been scoring goals for fun in the last few games. He's like 11 games with 11 or 12 goals and 4 assists this season in not much time. And as you can see down at the bottom corner, there's young centre-back Anselmino from Boca Juniors. And I think if you look at the prices of some of these players, there's not one player in this list that exceeds 50 or 60 million apart from Ezzy in terms of what we would be purchasing. And they would all come in and give us backup. Some of them could come in as a starter. Look at Mark Guehi. He's been playing in the Premier League. He brings that Premier League experience. He's proven. And, Joao Gomez, he's going to be ready to come in and get minutes, even start some games next to Kobe Mainu. There's also Rabiot, who's very experienced in the midfield. So if you look at the prices, I'm going to bring you one more slide, before I get into some more breaking news that's been happening, recently, yesterday, that was being discussed. So let me just bring up this last bit of slide so you can see this is what I was thinking in terms of the cost and the prices. Marcus Rashford, if we were to get him sold, for me, I might be one of those fans you might grow to hate, but I'm thinking if we could start negotiations somewhere around 60 million, we could probably get add-ons in the tune of 20 to 25 millions, and bring it up to somewhere in the region of 85 million in total sale. But that's if we was to be negotiating or trying to sell him this summer. I think Casemiro is going to leave. And I think, maybe to Saudi, and we're possibly going to get somewhere in the region of 25 to 35 million pounds, because it's going to be Saudi at the end of the day. And he was very good for us last season. He still has a year on his contract, but his wages are going to be an issue. I also have Rafael Varane there, and I'm thinking if he's going to Saudi as well, might as well try to negotiate somewhere in the region of 25 to 35 million pounds. You know what I mean? Keep it similar. You know what I mean? That brings us somewhere in the tune of 70 million pounds just with selling those two players. Even if it was to be 70 million euros, I think that would be a good deal for Saudi to make. They would bring a lot of attention to the league as well. They are very good players. Then there's, Luke Shaw, who I think definitely needs to be moved on. And I have my buddy coming in. Big up to you. How are you doing, bro? Let me bring you up one time. How are you going, man?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Good morning. How are you? Good to see you.
Chilling. It's good to see everyone. I was a little bit busy this week. I couldn't do much of the live streams in the morning, but I'm here today. So I'm just doing this because I'm thinking, a lot of guys, think, yeah, there's a possibility we might not get a lot of players moved on, but it's also a possibility we can be moving players on. And I'm just trying to get a realistic perspective across on what we could possibly earn selling players and what we and if we do creatively look at things, we could even possibly bring in players that will support us and perform well at a much lower cost.
No,
So
I saw your stream with Mick yesterday. I was listening to it this morning, and um, I think your expectations are a bit high, according to me. The amounts that you're expecting to get for our players is a bit high. And I was hoping if you can go through your list, and we can go through the list, and then if you can potentially tell me which team do you think will buy these players? Because Luke Shaw, 35 million. Which team potentially you think is coming in and buying Luke Shaw for 35 million? He's a
maybe
30-year-old left back who's injury prone.
Well, I mean, if you consider he's injury prone, right? I'm saying prospectively, we can probably try there. Maybe they come in for negotiations and we drop down to somewhere in the region of 25 million. You know what I mean? So I just put the highest figure that I think might be possible if a team came in. Because at the end of the day, if you put aside his injury prone when he was performing, he's one of the best defenders in left back position in the league. He's also a starter for England. So I was saying, at least we can get 25 somewhere in the region there. So it's possible that I might my price might be a little bit overshot on Luke Shaw. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm not harping on that. I would probably sell them for cheaper, in my honest opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah. I
as
mean,
we know,
if it's the highest possible that someone who brain dead comes in and asks for a player, then it's possible. I mean, no one's giving 35 for Varane. You've got 35 for Varane there, for heaven's sake.
yeah, yeah. I was just going on, the possible if Saudi comes in, right? Saudi has money to burn, guy. You know what I mean? They paid lots of money for Jordan Henderson, and let's be real, Jordan Henderson is not better than Casemiro. So in my honest opinion, while they might not get to that exact figure, I just put that because I was like, it's the highest possible. To be fair,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
like
Okay.
if you look at Victor Lindelof. No, I think I made a mistake with that figure there, but I had him for like 18 million at best. Ericsson 15 or at best. You know what I mean? But realistically, those players like Ericsson is probably gonna if we were to get him sold, it would be like 8 million. It wouldn't be for any money really. Amrabat is going back on loan. Van der Beek at best 15 million. You know what I mean? Sancho for me at best 35. We're gonna get for him. The only
Yeah.
reason I put 35 for Maguire is because someone offered 25 or 30 last summer. So I was saying based on his performance this season, you might could squeeze another 5 million out of them.
No,
If
but he's also a year older now. You have to realize that for players over 30, every year that they go, the price has to come down. He's already 31 now.
Maguire is 31, I thought he was younger than Varane.
He's older than Varane.
Oh, smack. All right, well that's my bad. I was thinking he was 29 going on 30. So that I made a mock up there. But even Wan Bissaka, bro, like I'm thinking we could at least get 30 million for Van Bissaka plus and all the and or swap him for Mark Guehi at Crystal Palace
No, I
because
mean, I understand that you are optimistic, but who do you think is paying 35 million for Van Bissaka? Tell me, which team is going to pay? Unless Saudi come in and throw crazy money, no team in their right mind is paying 35 million for Van Bissaka.
why not, man? I feel like there are other players who've been bought for like 20, 30 million that not are not at his level. I mean, as much as I think he's not the best right back in the world, I've seen some players bought this summer, that and before, like, I mean, there might be like 25 or whatever, but at the same time, they're not better than Wan Bissaka.
I mean, see, the thing is, the problem that we have is we pay such high wages that teams like Crystal Palace, Everton, all these teams would not come near these players and on these price points because they have to pay those high wages as well.
Isn't Wan Bissaka on 80K a week?
I don't know how much he's on, but he'll certainly be above what Crystal Palace will be willing to pay him, right?
Probably.
So they have to match his wages as well. So the valuation of the player automatically goes down by 5 million, 5 or 10 million.
Probably, at the end of the day, I'd remind that it was just my highest possible in my
Yeah,
mind.
no, I
So
agree. Highest possible. We can look at that. And I was listening to you and Mick, and I was listening. We can raise 500 million or 550 million, and I was thinking, no way are we raising that kind of money.
nine
There's no way.
at best we could raise like between it's somewhere between 250 and 300
Yeah, I
at
think
best
250 would be a realistic target if I'm honest. And that's when if we manage to sell all these players in one window.
as well. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I'm looking at it like this is why I was like, for me, this is why like I put Rashford at 60 because I'm like, even if we were to get someone to come in, I think they won't really come to negotiate at 75. I think that's too high. You know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
if we can get, see, if we are the people that we are getting in, right, like the Baradas and Wilcox and these people, if they can negotiate like City negotiate, like City sold their backup keeper, that Trafford, for 20 million to Burnley. If we get people who can negotiate those sort of deals, then we can get close to the values that you've put there. But for those people to come in and do that straight away with these players who are on such a high wage is going to be unrealistic. I think we'll start to get better in the transfer market as these people come in and they bring their own teams and they settle in. I think
Hmm.
2 seasons, maybe 2 windows down the line, maybe we can
Next
start
year,
looking
bro.
at, yeah,
2025 summer is the summer where we will be actually happy. I think we'll be most pleased with the signings and the what we spend, how we spend
yeah,
next summer. This summer and this window, the next winter window, I feel is the window where we will see some exits. We might have to spend some money this summer, but maybe in the winter, we will see some exits and we will see some cheeky signings coming because at the end of the day, you might be able to get to move players on in the window, and if it could move players on, I don't see why they could return some of that profit to bring in some young players in who could be backup or work into the team for the following season going forward. This is why I was looking at the players that I was looking at because I know a lot of people looking at players like Brant Waits and Onana, Amadou Onana, and these guys, and I'm just like, yo, there's a lot of money. Jao Neves, 100 million. You know what I mean? Gyökeres, 100 million. You know what I mean? So for me, I was looking at some players who kind of fit the style that we want to play, and they're young and they're talented, and then they going into that first or second contract that
yeah,
and the average price is max was 40 million. If you look, Anselmino coming in from Boca, 6 feet one, young centre back, with ability. He might not be able to start this season, but he could definitely come in and play in the League Cup or the Carabao Cup a few games and get himself into form, if you know what I'm saying. So and he probably at maximum cost 15 million euros.
yeah. No, I like the list of the players that you've got that we are bringing in. I like that list, to be honest.
You
I
know,
personally, I don't think we are going to be doing any marquee signings this window. I don't see Sir Jim doing that.
I don't know. You see, that's the funny thing, because somehow I feel like they might bring in a player, but you see, for me, it might not be a marquee in the sense of might not be a Vicinius Junior or a Gyökeres of that ilk, but it might be a player with some ability and talent, and it might cost us somewhere between 60 to 70 million. I feel like that might be the most expensive signing we bring in this summer.
Yeah, I think that's true. 60, 70 would probably be the highest that we'll spend on a player this summer because I think these people coming in, they'll need to analyze everything that we have at the moment and try and fix the mistakes that we've already made. I don't think they'll be looking to, I personally don't think they'll be looking to convince any player to join us this summer. Because if you
Yeah.
have to convince a player, the price already goes up, the wage already goes up. If a player wants to come in, then go and sign that player this summer. Don't try to convince anyone to come to United now.
100%, bro. 100%. If you look at the next on the list of incoming players, is young Mikhail Fai. And this youngster coming from Senegal. He's at Barcelona B, and he's made one or two appearances in the senior team this season. He's rumored to be around 17 million pounds, or basically euros, basic or pounds, either one you could say. And the reason why I put it at 23 million is because there might be a little bit of a negotiation battle for him, because there are other clubs like Valencia, possibly looking at him, as well as I think it was Girona and
Mm.
Lille in France looking at him. So I think is a good signing. He's left-footed, progressive, very, very physical. He's very good in the air and would provide the kind of backup for Martinez that we would like to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember you mentioning him on a previous stream as well. He looks like a good player. I hadn't heard of him till you mentioned it on your last stream when I listened to you when you were doing the prospective players that we can bring in, and he looked like a good player.
Yeah, he did really well in the Africa Cup of Nations playing for Senegal, and so this is one of the things I was paying attention to. Some few players from Afcon who performed really well and consistently, and also performing well at the clubs that they're playing for, and most of them play in France, as you know. So, you know, Rabiot is our next one on the list, and he will be on a free. And in my honest opinion, it might cost us somewhere around 18 million for the next 2 seasons to have him come into the club. I think he's going to probably demand something like 9 million a season, which, in my honest opinion, I would not be really upset at. He's 28 years old, I believe, and I believe we're going to get 2 or 3 years of very good performance out of him and experience.
I'm I mean I'm okay with Rabiot as a footballer. I just don't know his personality. I don't know if he'll be good for the dressing room.
I think his mom is the bigger problem. I don't think it's really him that's the issue. I think it's his mom and the way she does things is what creates an issue. So maybe, with the likes of Omar Barada and these guys, I feel like they're a little bit more savvy than a John Murtaugh. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah,
kind of
but
putting it
the
on
only
their
thing
shoulders
is
to deal with it the right way.
the only problem there is that if we are keeping Eric Ten Hag is not very good in dealing with these kind of players who have these egos and who have these dramas going on around them, right? So from what I've looked at Eric Ten Hag and from what I've understood, Eric Ten Hag prefers young players who he can mold.
But he also wanted Rabiot. So this is the thing for me. It's not the club that want Rabiot, it's Eric Ten Hag. So this is one of the issues for me. So this is why I have him on the list, because I know the manager wants him for some
Okay.
reason.
If he wants him and if he thinks he can handle it, then okay, maybe we can take a punt on him.
You know what I mean? There's a player on a free. And, I have Serhu Garassi, the striker from Stuttgart. This season, he's been performing really well. And, I don't have Boniface because I feel like Boniface is going to attract some huge attention, and it's going to be a bidding war this summer for Boniface. If he was to leave Leverkusen, But also, I know we probably in for Frimpong, so I didn't want to put Boniface as well, because then, I think Leverkusen might take the piss out of United. So I put Serhu Garassi there because I was like, although his release clause was 17 million and that's up and gone, there's probably going to be a shout that, he could negotiate somewhere in the region of 25, 35 million and get him signed to Manchester United, if you know what I mean. So he's 27 years old, so he brings that experience, that know-how, and he's not dissimilar to Hoyland in a way, but just more experienced. So it's one of
Right.
those things for me, And I have Joao Gomez, the youngster from Wolves. He plays for Brazil. He comes in to replace Casemiro for the Brazil national team, so he plays that similar DM role. And we've seen him at Wolves. I don't know if you've seen him as much as I have, but I think he will provide a very, very solid foundation for us to build from. I think playing alongside Kobe and Bruno for him would definitely improve his game a lot.
Is he a DM? From what I've seen in the games, he's been playing more forward.
Well, you see, this is what I wanted to talk about. He's very good at progressing the ball. He's very good at passing the ball and creating. But he is a DM. That's his actual position.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow, okay. But do you think we'll get him for 35?
Well, you see, right now the current market value is what 20. I think it's something in the region of 25, 20 to 30 million is his current market value on transfer market. So I was like, 5 million plus add-ons, 35 plus add-ons should get the job done. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
mean, you could set the add-ons to probably mean if we qualify for the Champions League, they get another 10 million. If he perform really well, have an amazing season, they get another 10 million, and they do the deal. I think it's one of those clubs, Wolves, that will probably do a deal with us because they would probably be looking at we have young Hannibal and stuff that they have been looking at in the past. So you never know what could happen with them.
Unless Pep wants another bench player.
Well, Pep seems to be shopping all out at Wolves in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, he's got Matthews Nunes, who he
Yeah.
rarely uses.
And I have Mark Guehi because I like him as a centre back. I think he's performed really well. I think he's very physical, he's pacey, he's decent on the ball. He for me he's like a better Maguire. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I think it helps with our homegrown tally. He probably is not going to be that expensive, and Crystal Palace is interested in Wan-Bissaka, so it might do us good to make a swap in some way. You know what I mean? I think they would be open to that.
yeah. That is a good signing. Mark Guehi is a good player. I like him.
And as you know, Frimpong, he's on the list from Leverkusen. He has a 37 million euro buyout clause, or really trigger clause that could be triggered to purchase. And I'm thinking, well, all my prices they are in pounds, so I'm thinking 40 million pounds. Even if we trigger it and another club was to trigger it, should get the job done because as you know he used to be at Manchester City and as a youngster, and he definitely has been speaking his interest of returning to playing in the Premier League. So it's one of those things. And as much as I like Bruno, I think Bruno needs to get some rest in some games, and we need to have someone who could come on, and take that role from him sometimes and play next to him, who has the ability to, press and tackle and be physical as well. And I have taken a great fancy to the likes of Eze. And I think it would be a good shout to get him into our system because I think he will do really well. He has shown he has very, very good footballing intelligence. He's good ball retention, very technical, and of course he's pacey and has physical ability. So, probably 55, 60 million, but that would be the most expensive signing I have in the list that would cover, the basic necessities of what we should be bringing into the squad this summer, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I think we definitely need two centre backs and one striker and one full back and at least one midfielder. Ideally, we would need two midfielders. If we are letting Ericsson, Casemiro, McTominay, all of them go, we'll need at least two new midfielders. But this time we need, as your list indicates, this time we need good technical and mobile midfielders.
100%. I have three defenders in my list there, including a fullback. So it's one of those things where I was thinking if we bring Frimpong in and we bring in three centre backs, we have Diego Dallo. And the good thing about Malacia is also able to cover on the right side. So, you could bring Alvaro Fernandez back because, in my honest opinion, we are definitely going to bolster this squad with some players from the youth academy and players returning from loan. Like a young Dan God Jr. is definitely going to come into the squad. Is one of the reasons why we moved on the young stuff who came from Denmark or Hansen Oren. He's
Yeah,
very talented, very gifted, but I think they chose Dan God to be the one they're going to keep to develop, and he's going to be coming back from loan shortly. Alvaro Fernandez as well as Pelistri. Now, I think a lot of fans think that we don't that Ten Hag doesn't rate Pelistri, but I'm telling fans that I think Ten Hag has a different view for Palestri, maybe playing somewhere more central, kind of like Ahmad. But the biggest thing is that, is he has to develop and he has to be able to give everyone a certain amount of game time, and not having Europe, takes away the opportunity for lots of players to get game time and minutes. So this is why I think a lot of them were going out on loan. And then, well, we know that the club had also preset some loan decisions for some players before the season started, so you really didn't have any control, you know. So my hot take signings for possibilities of marquees that we might look at or possibly could come in depending on how the budget goes would be striker Gyökeres as an option, but we already know he has 100 million release clause, so that's like very, very expensive. And I have Frankie de Jong as usual. I think he was the player that Eric Ten Hag wanted the most, and I think we are going to go back in for him. I think because Omar Barada is here, we could get that deal done. So if it happens, it probably will happen in the region of somewhere about 70 million plus add-ons. You know,
Yeah.
I
It,
also have two other options, and they both come from Real Madrid, and I'm only having those options because I have a strange speculation that move of Kylian Mbappe is going to probably trigger one of these options to Man United, and that is Rodrigo Go, 70 million pounds, give or take, plus add-ons, and or Vicinos Jr. But that would
Vinicius,
probably
yeah.
probably be somewhere in the region of 100 million pounds plus add-ons. So it's one of those things where there's definitely the possibility, because as we know, Kylian Mbappe plays off the left, so does Vinicius Jr. And we know they have Endrick coming into the squad next season, as well as the possible interest in Haaland. And it's one of those things where it's definitely going to be a situation where that team is going to, probably have Kylian Mbappe playing off the left. So it's going to be something to see what happens and how those dominoes fall in the summer. But so far on my list, I think, you know, the likely targets that might be more possible because of the links that we've been having would be Ansemino, definitely Rabiot, Joe, and Mark Guehi, as well as Frimpong. I think those four you could possibly be looking at as possible signings coming in because of the news and what has been happening about.
No, I agree, man. I need to drop off, but I agree with your list, and I'm excited to see what happens, man. I want to see more than the incomings, right? I'm more interested in outgoings because I want the new people to come in and get rid of some of these players, man, who've been here for 4 or 5 managers and have been doing the same thing again and again and getting managers sacked and not performing. I want to see
100%.
those players gone, man. And the most important thing I want to see is I don't want to see Rashford being a starter next season. Even if he stays, even if we don't manage to sell him, I don't want to see him being a starter if he continues with the same attitude that he's been having this season.
100%, 100%. And I don't know if you're gonna catch this, but I'm just gonna bring in some information about the change in executive leadership. And this has been announced last night, guys. Ratcliffe has already moved to appoint Manchester City's Omar Barada as CEO starting from this summer, as and temporary predecessor Stewart will leave the club altogether at the end of his tenure. Stewart's exit and Barada's start date were both confirmed by United late last night. By mutual consent, Patrick Stewart, interim chief executive officer, and Cliff Batty, chief financial officer, have decided to leave the club at the end of the season. Patrick will be replaced as CEO by Jean-Claude Bank until the arrival of Omar Barada on the 13th of July. Cliff Batty will be replaced by CFO by Roger Bell. Radcliffe has said, I would like to personally thank both Patrick and Cliff for their support in helping us get to know the club and making us feel welcome, and I respect their decisions to now move on as we establish a new management team for the club. The United co-owner Joel Glazer commented, I would like to thank Patrick and Cliff for their dedicated service to Manchester United, and I wish them well for the future. Both have been a source of invaluable advice and expertise over many years, and Patrick has served as an important role as interim CEO during this transitional phase. In addition to these changes at boardroom level, United have already appointed Southampton's Jason Wilcox as technical director, and talks are ongoing with Newcastle over the release of sporting director Dan Ashworth. Wilcox has begun work at Manchester United. Richard Heathcote and Getty, forget that part. The plan is for Wilcox and Ashworth to assume responsibilities of outgoing football director John Murtaugh, whose 11-year run at United has come to an end. Meanwhile, speculation remains rife over the future of manager Erik ten Hag following a terrible 23-24 season. United are now unable to secure a top four finish and could slide out of European places altogether in the final weeks of the campaign, though they have a chance to salvage some pride in a second successive FA Cup final against rivals City. Guys, what are your thoughts in the comments? Big up to Mental coming in today. Hope you have a great one, my bro. And big up to you, Sachiv. Yeah, Barada is joining on the 13th of July. And as you know, Wilcox has already started work. I think and I hope that this team that has been put together to form this new structure will get the job done, and we will see some early business being done in terms of the players coming in and some of the players to be moved out. Guys, I would like to all thank you all for joining me this morning. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. And don't forget to leave some comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on the players that are possibly going to be leaving the club. Which players you would like to leave, which players you would like to give a chance to, right? And you know what? I had a reckless take this morning, guys. And I don't want to talk about it too much, but keep your eye on some shock news coming because there might be some shock returns to the club and some shocking exits. Big up to everyone joining me. It's been your boy, MarkN MUFC fan, with the morning update, daily update, morning views. Manchester United news, guys. Bacon Brigade, big up to my buddy Pig. Hope the flying pig is well. Big up to everyone.